Do you think that this is organic? From your observation, do you think that this stuff is coordinated?
Now, what's interesting is there's a large fencing barricade right now, keeping the protesters away from the hotel. You can see the hotel is boarded up. Here we see some law enforcement in that right here. So stay tuned for updates here in Minneapolis.
To be honest, Brandon, it's a bit of both, but it is organic. Their viewpoint is that ICE is Gestapo, that ICE is Nazis, and that ICE is essentially just like rounding up and like killing U.S. citizens.
This is Jorge Ventura, another hotel being protested and targeted by anti-ICE protesters. Check this out. Where they believe federal agents are staying. This is the Graduate Hotel.
Are there protesters there that are moderate, or is all of them just radicalized?
Many of the protesters that you actually meet, they're almost individuals that have no purpose. I don't want to say no purpose, but they feel like what's going on now, this kind of fills that void in their life.
Like and subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to get notifications. Anytime I go live and make a video, y'all already know what to do. Let's get into this. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, like I told you guys earlier, I interviewed Jorge Ventura earlier. This was a popular demand interview. Everybody wanted me to talk to Jorge about what's going on in Minnesota. My wife was the biggest proponent. And I want to do this before we get to the interview. I want us to support our journalists who are out here doing all they can to give us news coverage that the mainstream won't even give us. Not even Fox News won't even go down there. So I'm giving $1,000 to Jorge. I'm gonna put it in his Venmo. I want everybody that's watching this, that if you share this content, if you watch this content, if you appreciate it, I want you to give to his Venmo. We'll put the Venmo up on the screen, and we'll also put it in the description section. I want us to support our journalists. All right, now, with that being said, Jorge, welcome to the show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, a fan favorite. My wife told me I had to interview Jorge Ventura. She literally, this is what she said. She go, he is too impartial, right? He is the textbook journalist. She said, sometimes I want him to be more biased than he is, but he sticks to the truth and he sticks right down, the narrow path of making sure he's doing objective journalism. And that's why we respect him. So y'all, help me welcome to the show, Jorge Ventura. Welcome to the show,
man,
brother.
Thanks for having me on. And hey, that means a lot. That's like such a high compliment to for someone to say that as a reporter. And no, that mean a lot. And just super happy to be on, brother.
And I won't tell anybody I call you Jesse Ventura before we started this show. I said Jesse Ventura. I haven't gotten no sleep today. So, but anyway, man, I want to talk. You're in the heart, in the thick of the foolery, and literally, if it wasn't for your sacrifice, dedication, we wouldn't get half of this footage. And I know others are out here, but I feel like that you have a very unique style in just actually reporting on what's going on, not necessarily hyperbolic or confrontational, but just literally giving the news of what's happening. So can you tell us what in the F is going on out there?
Right now, Brandon, here in Minneapolis, I would say the tensions are at that all-time high, especially after the recent shooting, and even before that. I got on the ground last Saturday, so I've almost been here for 2 weeks, and almost every business here that you walk in, or just you're looking at their windows, it's all of them say no ICE, no federal agents are allowed. We want ICE out. The rhetoric also from like the local PD, they don't want the federal agents, the mayor from and also from the state leadership. So you really have the entire state of Minnesota feels like against this operation and what Border Patrol agents and ICE are trying to do, where they're trying to target and arrest criminal illegal aliens. So you really have ICE kind of going against literally the whole state every time, and I've never seen this in any other city, even in Portland. Every time Border Patrol is actually out doing operations, they are immediately followed. So anytime they leave the federal building here in Minneapolis, it's called the Whipple Federal Building. That's where all the agents are headquartered. As soon as they leave that building, activists track their vehicles, they dox their license plate, they leak their addresses. They are obviously impeding on all the operations, and it's just creating this recipe for disaster. And the last couple of nights, Brandon, the anti-ICE rioters and agitators are now targeting hotels where federal agents are staying. So Sunday night got pretty violent at the Home 2 Suites by Hilton. It's a hotel here, but in Minneapolis where federal agents were staying. That's where the anti-ICE riders just stormed the lobby, destroying the lobby. They smashed the windows.
Were
They
ICE
actually
agents
blocked
were
off
ICE
both of
agents
the roads.
were ICE agents in the hotel, or they just believed they were in
Yes,
the hotel? So they were really in the hotel, and they were trying to break in and I'm assuming to hurt them, kill them, or something.
and what was shocking is when I got on the ground, and by the time I got on the ground, it was around 9:30 local time. So I thought, hey, any minute now, local PD is gonna show up, obviously with backup. And it was like over an hour this was going on, and then finally it took actually federal authorities. We didn't see any local PD arrive, but federal authorities arrived. That's when they deployed the flashbangs, shooting tear gas, and able to clear out that mob. And then that's where then I captured this viral moment where one of the federal agents starts to guard the front door, and the protesters start to throw objects. It hits the agent in the head. He starts bleeding profusely. He was very disorientated, and then he had this moment where he like pleaded to us, like the reporters there. He said, "Where is the local PD?" And I think that moment is kind of like the microcosm of what's going on in Minneapolis, where federal agents really feel abandoned by literally the whole state leadership uh, here in Minnesota. It's really quite astonishing to see.
It's crazy. I saw that clip that you referred to, and he did look disoriented. Looked like he was kind of dazed a little bit. Maybe he was losing some blood because he got blood all over his fingers. And he did. He went to the front like in a desperate kind of exposure plea. Right? He was playing,
Mm-hmm.
but he knew they weren't going to come. But I felt like he wanted to expose the media to the fact that they're not helping us. They're claiming that they will respond to incidents where the rioters and thugs are actually bludgeoning them, but they won't. There's no response to citizens. There's no response to Border Patrol or ICE personnel. You guys have literally sold past half of our inventory in pre-order in 1 week. 1 week, Verdict has sold past half of all of our inventory. Like, we got to restock. You guys are getting ready to sell us out. And if you want to get Verdict shipped to you during the pre-order period, which I think is going to be at the end of this week, it's going to start shipping out. If you want the Verdict, you better get on there and get some today because we're going to sell out.
So make sure if you're interested, go on. You must be 21 and over, obviously, but you make sure you drink responsibly. We don't do the irresponsible drinking. We don't do the drinking to get drunk and intoxicated. Pre-order today.
Do you think that this is organic? I ask everybody because I'm not there. And, you have the rhetoric online and everybody's so polarized in this topic, reasonably so in some cases. But, I mean, you obviously being a journalist who is very impartial and matter of fact, from your observation, do you think that this stuff is coordinated, or do you think it's kind of like a momentous thing where citizens in the city are agitated at ICE genuinely and they begin to build a coalition? Or do you think it's some outside force that's doing this?
To be honest, Brandon, it's a bit of both, but it is organic. When you're here on the ground and you're speaking to the people who are involved in rioting, protesting, attacking federal agents, impeding the operations, doing the doxing, they do feel, and these are 90% of the people doing this are white liberals, by the way. Um, they do feel like this is their fight and that they have the privilege because they're white that they have to do this and these are their words, to protect their Somali neighbors. They do view ICE like no matter what, no matter how you think about it, but their viewpoint is that ICE is Gestapo, that ICE is Nazis, and that ICE is essentially just like rounding up and like killing US citizens. Like that is the mindset. There isn't this mindset of like we want ICE here to just target the criminals, and we just want like the person who's undocumented to be left alone. That's not the mindset here. I think the moderate mindset, at least here in Minneapolis, is abolish ICE. And I think even politicians, if you actually start to hear some of the rhetoric, Brandon, they're starting to say that, and they're actually moving to the position of abolish ICE is the first step. We want to now prosecute ICE. And here in Minneapolis, you really do feel that. And like I said, the white liberals, at least here, feel like this is like their fight and that they're, standing up for their minority brother and sister.
Do anybody, are there people there that do have reasonable perspectives, which means that they're not yelling and screaming and being deranged they're articulating very clearly in the crowd, which means that I'm saying, are there protesters there that are moderate or ones that are saying, we just want this to happen. We don't want violence. We don't believe they're Gestapo. Are there reasonable amounts of people that are doing that, or is all of them just radicalized?
I mean, there are some people, but that right now is in the minority. But also, like an interesting thing is like I've been covering these kind of riots, civil unrest since 2020, and in all the major cities. And one thing that I learned is like you kind of watch in real time. Humans like I don't know if it's called psychosis, but they really get like propagandized by the media. A lot of people come to protests actually thinking like, hey, look, I'm a regular person. I don't agree with what ICE is doing. I'm just gonna like hold a sign. I'm gonna do the chant and sing. But when people actually come down and then they're actually riled up in these crowds and mobs, they actually change their behavior.
Wow.
They don't act like themselves, and that's something that I've been actually watching. And many of the protesters that you actually meet, they're almost individuals that have no purpose. I don't want to say no purpose, but they feel like what's going on now, this kind of fills that void in their life. And I think that's why you see these huge crowds like here in Minneapolis. It's like with wind chill, it's like -20. And there's thousands of people coming out. This Friday is going to be a massive general strike where people are literally walking out of their jobs. One of the messages I always get with my reporting is, are these paid protesters? And many of the times, like, I'm like, hey, man, these are people who are like, have regular 9 to 5 jobs, but they care so much that they're like walking out. And these are airline employees, hotel workers, restaurant workers. It's that type of vibe all over the city. So I'm kind of watching this real life psychosis, and also the language matters. If people are watching media and their politicians are using the word Gestapo and Nazi describing ICE, that plays a big role in what on the violence we're seeing on the ground.
Jorge, what's one of the biggest things you think is a takeaway? Like if you could expose the world to the biggest takeaway from you being in Minneapolis, Minnesota, what would that be? Like what would you, because if you had a megaphone, because obviously the content that you do and some of the other guys that do journalists there, it does have virality, but not everybody sees it. Like what is the most important takeaway based on your journalism that you see from Minneapolis that you want to, if you could give one message to the world, you'll say, well, this is what you guys need to know about what's going on in Minnesota.
To be real, man, like, and I don't say this lightly because like no one wants to say this, but it just feels like right now, Brandon, it's like a recipe of just a disaster or what's going to happen. We're almost at that boiling point. You now have left-wing agitators that are arriving here to the city like armed, and they're being encouraged to like fire at federal agents. So I'm very worried that we're going to get to a moment where agents are going to be ambushed, and it feels like we're almost there. And like I said, don't say that lightly, but it just feels like something's boiling up, especially when you're here on the ground and you feel the tensions. A lot of more individuals are coming out of town. Many of them are coming armed. And I just feel like right now, Brandon, we're in a recipe for disaster. And I really hate to see it. You don't want to. I love this country. You don't want to see anything like that, but it just feels super divisive, especially here on the ground. Um, we'll have to see how President Trump really navigates this. I think this is going to be one of his most pivotal moments in his administration. So, I'm hoping we don't get there, but man, it really, really feels like we're close to that moment.
If you had to, make a or give an opinion, what do you think Donald Trump should do? People float around the Insurrection Act. People are floating around, he deployed the National Guard. I know that he claimed that he had a conversation with Tim Walz about the potential of them working together to kind of get a stop to this, maybe coordinating efforts for local PD to hand over illegal aliens to them at the prisons or at the jails instead of having them go into the community. So what do you think, just based on your experience and things that you've seen, what should Trump do, or should he do anything at all?
You know what? I do like the optics of sending Tom Homan in. Tom Homan is a professional. He's super experienced as an ICE director, worked at the highest levels for both administrations. So I like the Homan move. I think you got to fire No. I think Chrissy Noem, her days have to be numbered.
Wow.
Like the way that they ran this was horrible for optics. Um, I do think if he does the Insurrection Act, I think that right there would just all hell would break loose on the streets of Minneapolis. So I think we need to avoid that for right now. So we need to kind of cool the temperatures, have these meetings with Governor Walz and the mayor. I don't know if maybe they make an agreement where they say, okay, look, we'll take away a certain amount of agents, but you need to turn over like every criminal illegal alien in a prison or in a Minneapolis jail or whatever that agreement looks like. But I think Noam has to go, man. I know, I really do.
Yeah,
And look, I have
talk to me
sources
more about
that, and
Noem. Talk to me more about Noem. Like what is it that that what she's done has gotten you to the point where you say, look, she has to go. She's not doing her job the way we need her to do it.
the thing with Noam, Brandon, is like I have insiders in Department of Homeland Security, like even before what happened here in Minneapolis, like the both shootings. She was already super unpopular inside DHS. Like a lot of DHS didn't like that she was like going on these trips and putting like the cowboy hat and the whole thing. Like it looked very cringy. After the Preddy shooting, I think that was it because she came out and like called Preddy like a domestic terrorist, and that like it just inside the ranks that was like just super unpopular. So the messaging just has been completely off. And Holman has always just been about getting the criminal legal aliens and then kind of working from there. And Holman has kind of been sidelined, and Holman is very popular inside the ranks. So I think Noam has to go because she's really put Trump in his tough position. Look, I think one thing people have to remember: not everyone consumes the news like you and me, and probably your viewers consume the news probably more than the average American. A lot of people just consume the news really quickly through headlines. And right now, the optics look bad for Republicans if all the headlines are super negative about ICE, and then you have these two shootings. It's just like optically, it's a disaster, and no one has just not navigated this at all. So I think getting Holman in is the right decision. I'm gonna be super interested to see like how the tactics change on the ground. Like, do they just pull all the way? Do they pull all the border patrol agents? It's only ICE out there. We'll have to see, but I think no one has to go, Brandon. To be real.
Yeah, I'm hearing that a lot. I'm kind of to the point where I'm so fed up with these lunatics going out and bludgeoning ICE that I'm desensitized to what happens to them, and almost to the point of me saying that's what they get. But I do understand that a leadership position like where Kristi Noem is that she has to be able to clearly articulate and be cognizant of what she's saying, because I see two things happening here. In the past, the left creates a narrative that's so outlandish and it's totally far-reaching, but they present it, and it goes around the world 50 times, and then finally the truth get out and nobody care. And it's almost as if Kristi Noem is doing the same thing on our side. Like she jumped to the gun and saying he's a domestic terrorist. He was there to murder ICE, and there's a part of me that don't like that, and then there's also a part of me of saying, well, wait a minute, maybe just maybe we should be putting out. You know what I'm saying? We should have a stance, because they are willing to put out that this guy did nothing wrong. He wasn't even armed. He was just a nurse protesting on the street. And then that goes around the country and everybody's mad because they think this guy didn't even have a gun. They think like we got video of him confronting people and getting physical with ICE agents with a gun on his hip. And the left acts like he was just a nurse. Like the one Renee Good, she was just dropping her kids off at school. Like, God is my witness. I think people think that she dropped her kid off at school and she was just driving through the street and got killed. I think people still believe that. So,
oh yeah, no, they do. Yep.
I see kind of what Kristi Noem is doing, but I do think she can be a little more tactful, because I think people were very upset about the First Amendment kind of description, because our Second Amendment. You do have the First Amendment to protest. You do have the Second Amendment to take a gun to a protest if you want. But you don't have a right to do that stupid stuff he did. And I think that Kristi Noem is kind of a little more extreme. I think some people in Trump's campaign or Trump's administration, they're kind of like social media people, more so than professionals to a certain degree. Like, and I love Kesh Patel, but even in when Charlie got killed, I felt like Kesh Patel and them jumped the gun. They were claiming that they had people in custody and they were doing things that they shouldn't have done. You got to kind of wait until you get adequate information before you disseminate that information to the public. And I think he kind of lost a little momentum there. Kristi Noem, Pam Bundy, Sorry, my nose stopped up. Pam Bundy, she's literally going out and saying with the Epstein thing, I got the evidence right on my desk. It's like some people in the administration are so used to being social media influencers and viral that they're losing touch with the professionalism that comes with the job. So people can kind of take you a little more seriously. Everything is not a meme. You know
That,
what I mean?
that's right. I mean, Brandon, if I could just add to it, because this is like such a good point. A lot of people don't understand this. It's like some of these Trump administration officials, they're too online. You know, like for Chrissy Note to come out with the domestic terrorists, it's like hold on, like you're speaking to America. You're not speaking to like the online right on X. And I totally agree with you. I think some of the administration officials are they're too online, and like Trump knows optics. That's why like when reporters were asking the White House press secretary, "Hey, does Trump view Ash Brady as a domestic terrorist?" She says, "I have not heard the president characterize him like that." You know, Trump knows optics, and that's why he's navigating this um, moment. I think so far pretty smoothly. We'll see how it goes through with Homan, but I completely agree with you, man. Also like the messaging has been off. Like you don't want the Chris Noem saying one thing, and then I mean, literally the president
Yeah.
is saying a completely other thing. So even the White House messaging has not been the same following that shooting.
Yeah, that's I agree with you 1,000%, and I think that's what people need to understand because this is one thing that I would critique the administration with, and because I think they're doing a lot of great things, and they're way better than the left because the left they're completely nut jobs. They already were in power, and we see what they did, but on the right side, I hate when I see people saying three different things, and this happened in Trump's first administration when he had. With the COVID-19 stuff. And he had Dr. Fauci and them going on CNN and saying something, and then he said something from the White House. It's like everybody needs to get on the same page. It's the same thing with Kesh Patel and then we're saying different things. It's like, and Pam Bundy, like everybody need to get to a meeting and need to talk to each other and say, this is what we're gonna say. Pam Bundy can't say something different than Kesh Patel. And say something different than Kristi Noem.
Right.
And then the press secretary say something different than what Trump said on True Social. Like, I don't think that they're intentionally doing this, but I think that if I can add a critique to the administration, I would say, can you guys please professionalize what you're doing? Because Pam Bundy is telling us Epstein files are on her desk. Donald Trump gets in a meeting and says, why are we still talking about this? Kesh Patel is saying, we're
Hmm.
going to bring everybody to justice. You like at some point, you guys got to talk about this because it make us look bad and the left is kind of getting a little more fodder.
That too, and also, man, like the right is putting pressure on Bondi and Patel. Like the heat is absolutely on it. Like they're holding them accountable. Like that's why Bondi right now, I think, was a little bit pressure to make some arrests with this church mob storming a couple weeks ago. So I think that was actually like a really good sign. We have to see if the charges stick. We'll see if Don Lemon gets arrested. But I agree with you, man. Like when the messaging is mixed, you really lose trust. And once again, like an important thing right now is like the White House needs to speak to America, not to X and Twitter. Like I said, Brad, I think this is going to be just one of the most important, pivotal moments for the administration. And many on the right now are like really upset that like Bavino is being like relieved, and I think he's like leaving Minneapolis today. So that's also like an interesting development as well. So right now, really like the whole eyes of the country right now on Minneapolis on what's going to happen with this whole immigration enforcement. Does it continue? How does it look like? Is the administration going to back down? It's really kind of fascinating, man, because every hour we're like learning something new right
Yeah, and I heard that Bavino, I think I heard it was a rumor that he was getting demoted or whatever the case may be. I think the White House, I think my guy Nick just told me this morning that the White House came out and said that is not confirmed. So I think that it was rumored, but this is the problem with miscommunication
now. Yep.
because where do we, like we hear it, we see it on the internet, but where's the official statements that are articulating very clearly to the people that this is happening or not happening? It's not very clear until 2 or 3 days later. So, but also I think you made such a good point, Jorge, and then I want to get to another topic, but it is very, very important that we don't just talk to social media because I think even I get caught up in this, right? My world is what goes on in social media. But like the average
Hmm.
American that's going to work and going home do not consume media like we do. They don't know everything that's going on. They don't know anything about the shooting. They just heard that the shooting happened and another American is dead. These people,
Yep.
most people are literally taking their kids to school and going home and going to their job and worried about, putting food on the table or worried about what they're going to do at their job next. Are they going to get promoted? Do they have to study for an exam? There's a lot of people that are living a average, normal life. And when they do tap in to narratives, news reports, or press conferences, they need to hear reasonable communication, not hyperbolic meme culture, because I feel like when I listen, I'm just being honest. When I listen to the president and I listen to the White House, and I love the White House, I go there all the time and I love them. I feel like they're talking to me, right? Like, I feel good about what they're saying because I'm in this every day. When they talk about this guy as a terrorist and all this, even though it's hyperbolic, I'm like, yeah, screw that guy because I'm
Yep.
indulged in this. But then a humbling point that you make is that, wait a minute, maybe just maybe that's not the right approach because everybody's not like us. Everybody don't know
Because
everything that happens.
what I try to do, Brandon, sometimes like as a reporter, man, is like I try to look at politics like through the lens of like my dad. My dad's like a 55-year-old guy, middle class trucker. And so I try to like look at politics through him, and he's like completely normal. So he's consuming news like a normal person, bro. He's not online like us. Like I asked my dad about the Epstein files, like he has no idea who like Jeffrey Epstein is. Like he all he knows is he's got to somehow figure out how to pay the bills
Yeah.
and survive, and that's his life. So just I think that's important to remember, and I do think with Trump's recent moves, I think he does see that. Like I do believe that, and I think you'll kind of see Noem not have so much press conferences in these next coming weeks. Would be my prediction.
All right, the last topic because I know you're busy, man. What is the safety like for you out there? Because like it seems like a war zone, to be quite honest, and there's a lot of violence. But it seems like you, as a reporter, and you have built a reputation of a actual reporter, not an antagonizer. And so it seems that you kind of are able to go under the radar a little bit and actually be able to report with immunity of violence, it appears, especially lately, some of the stuff that I've seen you do. But like, what is it like for you out there? What is it like when it comes to violence? What is it like when it comes to finances? Meaning that, is it a struggle just to get to some of these events? Can you talk us through like what is it like to be Jorge traveling to these events?
Yeah, and I started off in 2020, with the George Floyd riots. So like, as soon as I started off, I went right into like literally the madness of it. And one thing that we learned quickly, Brandon, is like that we have to go undercover. So during the 2020 riots, I actually would dress almost like Antifa. So I would wear the black bloc, all black, no logos. Sometimes you got to go really undercover. So like if they're marching, they're doing the marches like all cops are bastards. You kind of got to join, and you kind of do you kind of do the chants, and then you're able to kind of blend in. It's almost like you're being an actor in a way. You're kind of being in a movie, and then you're there to document. I think the best, and like this is just my opinion, the best reporters and the best who do this do not make the story about themselves. And I think too many are getting lost in the confrontations, and then all of a sudden you're not really telling a story. You are becoming the story. Then
Right.
it becomes that you're always the victim, and it's like, everyone has different values in this game. And for me, I just want to show the American people what's going on. And I did that during the George Floyd riots. I did it during the COVID shutdowns, and I did it all 4 years on the border under the Biden administration. So, my job is to go undercover, not cause any confrontation, get the best video, and tell a story. If I could get interviews, I will. So you can actually hear from people. And I've just kind of carried that way. And even doing that, they still go after me. They still dox me. If they actually find my identity, like while I'm on the ground, like they will go to assault me. So it's kind of playing like this cat and mouse game. Like my style is very undercover. Try to keep going live limited. I just went independent a little bit over a month ago, so this is all really new. But
Wow.
so right now, just kind of raising money to our followers, really counting on the people to just help us with literally everything. I mean, like this hotel, all the gear. I literally, you have to kind of get gas masks and new filters, the bulletproof vest. I mean, there's so much, we sometimes have to hire security, a cameraman. Lately, actually, we've been hiring getaway drivers. That's been actually an amazing thing for us. And so when things kind of get hot and the protests are the right, we have a getaway driver. He's ready on location. So it takes a big risk, but for me, I just want to get the news out. So yeah, kind of what I was getting to the point is like I just want to show the American people what's going on and then let them decide. And I think one of the best examples of my reporting was on the border, just showing people the raw, unfiltered truth. And I've gotten so many people to flip their opinions on the border. The amount of people that messaged me, people didn't even know that I mean, literally, immigrants were dying on the border every day under Biden, and so forth. But that's really my goal, Brandon. Is I just want to be like a storyteller. I don't care to make it by myself. And that's what really drives me on multiple things. I'm doing protest coverage. I'm doing documentaries. I'm investigating the illegal marijuana with cartels in Oklahoma and California. I'm also like I love just telling human American stories. So like last year I was in Kerrville during the flooding that killed like over
Yeah.
140 people. Many of them were children. I was the first national reporter there, last one out. So just want to tell people the stories from the ground, unfiltered.
Yeah, man, and I love that you do that, man. I really do, and I appreciate you. And I told my wife last night because I knew I was going to interview you, and I told her, I said, why do we not fund, like as a conservative base, even conservative, even if you're not a conservative, if you love uh, journalism, real journalism, where people are actually doing what journalism is made to do, exercising the First Amendment, where you are going into these dangerous places that nobody's willing to go to get the footage and the stories that nobody's willing to tell. Why in the world are we not compiling our resources together for people like you and others who are out here getting content that we would never have, we would never see, we'll never be privy of? And so what I told my wife I would do is because people on the channel know that we try to raise money for journalists. Because I had this in my heart the other day and I said, I was mad, dude. I literally made a rant video about it. And we probably should resurface the video because people need to give more. And so this is what I want to do for you, Jorge, is that we're going to put your link to it's a Venmo, right?
Yep.
We'll put your Venmo link in the description section. And I want everybody that's watching this to give to Jorge's Venmo. Because if it wasn't for Jorge and some of these other guys, and Jorge in particular, because Jorge does it better than just about anybody with impartial journalism. Not that hyperbolic and the story is about him, but y'all need to give. And so what we're going to do on our end, because I don't ever ask people to do stuff I'm not willing to do, we're going to give you, Jorge, $1,000. We're going to put it in your Venmo.
Oh man,
And I
bro.
want everybody else to do the same. Give, because we need you to be safe. We need you to be able to go to a hotel, rent a car, get on a flight, be able to eat. These leftist nut jobs, they got all the money they need. They passing pizzas out and they doing all this stuff. But good people like you who have to get security and all this stuff, we're gonna take care of you, man. So we're gonna give you
Man,
1,000. We're
appreciate
gonna
you,
put it
bro.
in your Venmo because you deserve it, bro. It's
Yeah.
like we should support our own, dude. And you're doing a great job, man. And I
I
appreciate you.
appreciate you, Brandon. Like, I just want the viewers to know, man. Thank you guys so much. Like, you and your wife, bro. Like, the minute you guys even just shared my work and the Venmo, like, you guys are supporters and viewers really came through, and it's helping out so much, man. And now we're able to, like I said, extend our coverage, be here longer, upgrade the equipment, and yeah, man, we're not going anywhere, man. So if people think they can shut us up, we're not going anywhere. We're about to hit the ground running. So
That's
thank you,
right.
Brandon. It's a huge morale booster, man. Really means a lot.
No, we got you, man. You keep doing God's work out there, man. We're gonna support you. And I appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.